Back on the MSG 150 at home, presented by Chase, Bill Pito along with Alan Hahn, and it is great to say hello to the radio voice of the defending champion Toronto Raptors, Paul Jones.
Billy, I remember last year at this time I was hanging out in a parking lot at Oracle and
Right.
taking in the sun and enjoying basketball in June as the Raptors were headed towards a title. As a matter of fact, the title was won on June 13th, so we're almost a year to the day as we sit here. But our world has gone crazy, so here we are.
Yeah, I mean, last year it was great to have you on. We had you on, as you mentioned, from the parking lot. We had you on from your car. We had you on from the side of the freeway. Great to have you with us in the comfort of your own home. Tell us about. Go ahead.
As a kid that spent his time growing up in Queens, anytime's a good time to be on the network, man.
There you go. There you go. Tell us about your thoughts of the setup in Orlando. Raptors had a great season before the suspension of play, second overall in the East. How do you see things progressing in Orlando?
I think with Toronto, you've got a really mature team. That's the thing that I don't think people gave them credit for over the course of the season. They thought, Kawhi Leonard is gone. This team's going to fall apart. And Doc Rivers said it best when they played the Clippers back in December. He said, this team has that championship rub now. You're not going to break them. And, you look at guys like Van Vliet and Lowry and Siakam, they'd had so many, Norman Powell, they'd had so many hard losses at the hands of LeBron James. They had the experience. They kind of knew what to do. They just couldn't get over the hump. You bring in Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green last year, and you get past it. I always joke that I built a shed in my backyard a few years ago, and my neighbor is the foreman on a construction site. And I couldn't get the last corner to square up. And he comes over, he says, Jones, you did a good job. I said, yeah, Chris, but I can't get the corner square. He's a foreman. He's a construction worker. He picked the thing up. He dropped it. He got a crowbar. He hit it. All of a sudden, the corner squares up. And I look at him and I say, that's what you do? He goes, hey, man, experience. I know what I'm doing. And now the Raptors have that. They learned that from Kawhi and Danny Green. So, when they go down to Orlando, if they can get into good shape, they may indeed, Billy, have an advantage because they've been together. They know what it's like. They've been through it. Now they're going to be missing some things. That critical home court advantage, that Scotiabank Arena is a tough place to play. They don't have that, but you would hope if they're in shape and their experience and their knowledge will be able to carry them through.
This is a team that had won 15 straight recently before the stoppage, and it already was on another streak going. I think it was 4 in a row that they had gotten. So you're right. They were playing really well, getting healthy. Now, obviously, everybody should be healthy because no one's been doing anything. But because of this situation of going now to the bubble city, going to Disney, playing with no fans, it's going to be extremely different. And what have you been hearing about what the team is going to be doing and maybe what the league is also planning to doing, not just from the game perspective, but even your perspective as a broadcaster, how you're going to handle it?
Well, Alan, there's a couple things at play here because Toronto's the only team outside of Canada. And it seems like, everybody's determined not to give any preferential treatment to the NBA. And Adam Silver doesn't want that. He's come out and talked about that. There was the past instances with the testing and our tests being taken away from regular citizens. We're in a different situation here in Canada. So the guys that are here can work out, but it's futile to have them cross the international border and then go into quarantine for 2 weeks before working out. So a lot of the guys are probably, working out wherever they can in the U.S. and they'll convene in Orlando and go from there. So, as for us, we've been told in Toronto here that our games will be done from a studio. We'll use the same studio that we used to broadcast the Olympics in 2012 and 2016. And, I guess now I always say that a guy like Lowry or Van Vliet, Norman Powell, if you were playing pickup, those are the guys you'd want on your team because they go all out. It doesn't matter to them about the money or all that other kind of stuff. And I think you're going to see the manifestation of that without people in the stands to provide energy. It's going to have to come internally. And those are the kind of guys you want on your team. Those guys that, you know, if you're out on the blacktop, if you're at Montebello Park in Queens and you're playing to 7, those are the guys you want on your team. It doesn't matter. They want to hold the court.
Paul, talking about the Raptors, we touched on the fact that Kawhi Leonard obviously is not with the team anymore. But how about the breakthrough from Pascal Siakam? Really at an elite level, and how important has that been to the Raptors season and overall development now as a franchise?
It's been huge, Billy. It has. A lot of people did not foresee that happening. And people around the organization saw the potential, knew it could happen, knew it probably would happen. But, Pascal got a real lesson from Kawhi last year. He paid attention to everything that he did. They had a good relationship, a good, working relationship as teammates. Pascal said he just watched. He learned. He watched Kawhi go to work every day, come in early, leave late, focus on the task at hand. And I think you're seeing that. And the big question that people have is, can he do it in the playoffs? Well, sometimes your best predictor of the future is what's happened in the past. And you look at the great regular season he's had. So why can't he do that? He's young. He's willing to learn. Look, he hasn't been playing basketball all that long. He hasn't picked up a lot of the bad habits, and he's been around really good developmental influences. So I'm not sure anybody saw that, Billy, to your question. I'm not sure anybody saw it. We around the team and people in the organization knew it was there and the potential was there. And now the rest of the NBA is seeing it.
You mentioned it earlier, but let's dive deeper into what makes the Raptors what they are. This is a star-driven league, and they lost one of the biggest stars in the game, and yet here they are competitive again. And you'd said how they are very competitive guys. They have hardworking players, as you've mentioned, Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet and others. But just about the organization in general, like what is it that they have done that they have been able to build something like this that you see a player like Kawhi Leonard walk away after winning a championship, and there wasn't this sense of, well, we won, he's gone, so there's no real expectations for us anymore, and the accountability drops off. What is it about that organization that they remain extremely competitive?
It's a number of things, Alan. First of all, they've embraced the fact that they're in Canada. And for years, there was a lament about being unable to get a star player here. Oh, no free agent's going to come to Canada. They'd rather go to New York or LA or Boston or places like that. And, the people in the organization said, okay, well, fine. Then we'll have to do it another way. And I think the model was probably the 2003 Pistons that had a lot of really good players. And we look back now and say, man, some of those guys were stars. Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, Larry Brown fit the pieces together, Tayshaun Prince, great role players. And then they had, they made the deal to get Rasheed Wallace off the bench, and they had, guys that would come in and play their roles. And I think the Raptors are built in that image, Alan. And they've embraced it with a We the North campaign. Yeah, we're different. And they were the only ones to really say, okay, we're gonna go this route. They won an NBA title without a lottery pick on their team. And, they have a culture now, and that nebulous word, right? What is culture? Well, it's a way of doing things with expectations attached. And the same way we talk about the Spurs culture and Riley's culture, when be he in Miami or New York or LA, the Raptors now have a culture. They have a way of doing things, and they have expectations attached. They've developed guys from the 905. They've just moved it forward, and they've just created this kind of self-contained unit, Alan, that it doesn't matter that we don't have a star up here. That's what they're saying. We're going to get this done. We're going to look for competitive, fiery, hardworking guys, and we're going to get it done collectively.
Hey, Paul, we'll leave it there. Best to you and your family, and hopefully all goes well for the NBA restart in Orlando.
Same to you guys. Always great to be on. You guys have the number, and I love it when you call. Thanks, Billy. Thanks, Alan.
Paul Jones, radio voice of the Raptors. Coming up, the anniversary of the Rangers winning the Cup, June 14th, 1994, just around the corner. But the game has changed so dramatically since then. We'll discuss when we come back on the MSG 150 at Home presented by Chase. Stay with us, everybody.